Hello and welcome back, coming to my channel. For the ones of the returning audience as well as the newbies, I welcome you all to my channel of Aspie Answers or Life as Aspie. I'm your advocate, or shall we say your host, Aspie Answers, and I'm all about creating mental health and awareness videos as well as autism, sharing my lived experiences with autism and mental health, as well as taking you all on a journey with me when I'm able to do certain activities and more. So if you're into any of these and more, feel free to smash that subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner to join me on the bandwagon as a family member, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I'll be much appreciated so that you know when I am about to post. Usually, as I said, I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but that may subject to change due to developments of other things that's happening right now. So if you've been following me right now, based on the very first video that I was talking about on the main subject about autism and aging, the question has come about based on the research: does autism change as we age? I believe that based on this, it has been proven that despite it all, that we need to figure out what we know so far about autism itself, because as I have mentioned in myself, autism is a diagnosis in itself based on being a neurological typical disorder of what is autism, and this has been classified in the 1940s by Aspergers, hence the name of Asperger's syndrome. But then it was brought out in the 70s for the classical autism or autism spectrum disorder as such, to actually bring out and about the actual umbrella of the host of different spectrums of autism. Because as I said in one of my videos about what is autism, as well as also the different types of autism, somewhere in one of my videos, which I'll link in the icon above me and in the description box below me. Also, and that with these kinds of symptoms that I mentioned in autistics, that will vary from person to person, as well as the characteristic traits, be it male or female, that will come into effect with the video too, hopefully, of reference on the icon and in the description. That one will be classified as characteristic traits in females, girls and women on the spectrum. In saying this though, basically autism, as I've clearly mentioned, is also known as a diagnosis that was clinically known for being it a male diagnosis, because just briefly, autism was far-fetched not a woman's diagnosis, and when it did come about, many females get diagnosed at a later date or a later time of their life maybe. And due to that is the reasoning behind it is because of the similar signs, symptoms, versus also the traits and characteristics that comes with it. Basically, we're diagnosed as basically us being having bipolar, depression and all that. But as we know with some other diagnoses, be it some for mental health, neurological disorders versus your education, your learning disorders as such, and many other hosts of disorders, shall I say conditions, not to offend anyone here, that obviously it has come in the mix of what autism can come with. Girls are also, or shall we say girls and young women, once they get diagnosed with autism especially, are usually able to mask the characteristics, traits in general of autism pretty well. And this is known also when they do their socialization with their peers, and how you go about mimicking and actually shape-shifting, as I put into one of the videos, shape-shifting, which you'll have it in the description and in the icon above me if you want to find out more to what I'm sharing there. But from what I do as an autistic, basically I do this for the shape-shifting, and that what happens in that shape-shifting realm for me as an autistic, I could be just minding my own business if I was out and about it in public, or even just a real classic example for me, if I wasn't invited to a party. So let's just imagine I'm at a party. I got invited to a party with a group of people, right? Or a friend of mine. And in saying this, that you'll see me maybe sitting on my own, because usually I'm a shy, conservative kind of girl. I'll be observing my surroundings. what's going on, the smell, taste, and everything else that's going on with my 5 classic senses. I'll try to blend in as much as possible while I'm shape-shifting. This is also just not just observing the surroundings, but everything with the noise and everything around me, to the point that I'll try my darn hardest to filter out all the white noise if there's music going on and whatnot. And then sometimes when it comes down to the shape-shifting, depending on the given situation, if it gets too much for me, basically my senses will heighten and it will lead me to a point of overwhelmed situation. Then I might have a meltdown or a shutdown, depending on the given situation, again based on what I'm dealing with or what I'm facing with as an autistic. In saying this, basically I have clearly shared about shape-shifting versus the shutdowns and meltdown phases, which I'll link the list, or shall we say the playlist, especially for you guys to have a look at if you want to understand more about, you know, the differences between the phases of meltdowns versus shutdowns and everything else. And there is a few bits and pieces about me as an autistic. And as a disclaimer before I continue on, I am not a medical doctor. I'm just a normal average Joe blog, basically an autistic young female adult. Once you meet an autistic, don't forever assume that they're the same as myself, because as I said before, every autistic will show different signs and symptoms varying from their ages and stages in life. So please just bear that in mind. As I said before, also, individuals with autism will have unique personalities in different circumstances, packaged differently, right? So like I said in the previous video about the very beginning, all about aging and autism, what you need to know, that imagine it as a box full of, you know, the different personality traits, quirks and the like, and that also, in saying this, autism spectrum isn't a one size fits all category. No, far from it, okay? Because as I said before, each autistic individual will also vary in a way of needing some form of individualized support throughout their lives, regardless what age and stage of their life is. I don't wish to classify these two terms that are being slapped on the knuckles of these functioning labels versus your high functioning versus your low function of autism. But I have clearly mentioned about these two labels, but also what they are and so on and so forth. Again, it will be in the description card as well as in the iCard above me. In the next video, also over, will be based on the problems of functioning labels, my uptake and understanding, as well as just what sort of problems that may occur for autistic individuals when they do get these labels, functioning labels. But you'll find out more, hopefully. If you want to find out more, please sit tight for that one. Anyways, moving on, aside from this, just to bear in mind also, there has been only little information about adults and autism, as we know, because as I said, majority of the time it's solely focusing on, you know, the autistic, or shall we say the children that has been diagnosed as autistics. And majority of the time for children with autistics at the tender age of 2 or 3, or just children in general 2 or 3, might show those classic signs and symptoms at an earlier age, especially in males. Because as we know, for autistic children, when they are diagnosed, there'll be bound to be more help, assistance, accommodation needs, information and resources about it. So like I said before, this is a rare occasion that you might hear about some information for ourselves as adults or teens that are aging into that stage and process, and there is lacking of either knowledge, information, resources, you name it. That's why there still needs to be more research. But bear in mind though, however, the team, or shall we say the people, or as I call them, the professionals and researchers that has come about, basically, that is in the medical field, are doing their very hardest to actually start to understand the process of autism in adults, and has realized now that aging with autism, again, I can't stress it enough, can change based on the traits and characteristics that's been brought about, that has been shown. As we age, however, I believe basically we'll definitely have more autism traits, more than ever. And yet it has been known that those who have not been diagnosed at all will probably be diagnosed at a later age or stage in their life, especially for, again, as I said earlier, the females are known for masking the actual traits and characteristics, and how they go about it will, you know, vary from person to person as well. But as I've realized also, like for example, when this comes about based on ones that hasn't been diagnosed at all, at a later stage in life, say for example at a tender age of 60, this is just a number to put out there, may or may not have, milder or severe autism traits and characteristics, but will have the higher cognitive, which is your thinking ability, to overcompensate, and may have to use that ability of that lifespan in order to cope with some of the struggles that they may have in autism. Or shall we say, at Goldsmith University, from what I've heard about, they want to look at or into how people with autism change over time as we age. Again, there will be differences of the first diagnosis. This is, however, only early days for autism and aging, especially for us that are in our teens and adults, to find out more about, if autism does change over time. But again, my belief is that it does change as we age, because obviously, as I mentioned in the first video of the 5 key areas that does change as we age will be our memory of movement, our sensory profiling, language, and autonomy. So those are the 5 classic areas that will be researched so far. And apparently, however, what I believe also is that, as I mentioned, that I've mentioned, especially for the memory, for number 1 of that key area, for executive functioning, especially for me as an autistic, and I'm sure as how there are many other autistics will probably have these certain life hacks. We make lists and whatever that fits for us to get on our day and breaking down everyday tasks, what we need to do of a clinical routine. And that's how I work as an autistic. Not many autistics may like routines or 50-50 splits. So if you want to know more about how I work with the executive functioning, I can kindly do so to put it in the description and an archive for me. But to end this, I want to ask a question or two for the ones that are maybe autistic or not. If you've done your research in yourself or heard about this topic, what is your uptake about autism and aging? Does it change over time as we age? If so, how does it affect us in our day-to-day living? Or as an autistic yourself, how old were you when you're, diagnosed? Are you feeling that being autistic is a blessing or a curse? As well as in saying this, based on the question I want to throw at you, list me at least maybe 1 or 2 things you like about being an autistic versus also, again, 1 or 2 things that you don't like about being autistic, so we can start a conversation going. And as we age, no matter who and what we are or have got, we want the best for ourselves, right? To enjoy our life to its fullest and to make a legacy for others as well as ourselves, for the others to be remembered by, no matter what would happen, autistic or not. So this quickly ends a short video, hopefully, about the second part of autism and aging. Does autism change as age? Smash the like if you like this. Again, comment below the answers that I threw at you about autism if you are an autistic. As I said, to review the questions were: 1, do you believe that autism does change over time as we age? If so, how so? 2 is basically, if you're not autistic, do you find it a blessing or a curse for you? 3, 1 or 2 things that you're grateful for of your benefits of being an autistic versus 1 or 2 things that you don't feel that is great about being an autistic. And if you do decide to join in that discussion of those questions, feel free to also be considerate of others down there based on the comments, because as I said, I want it to be an open area that people can feel safe and not be judged on and everything else, so that we can feel safe and secure, because I want my kind of channel to be free from discrimination and everything else. So, in all further ado, guys, thanks for support, thanks for watching, do what you love what you do, and don't forget also, as I said, I've got a Patreon account as well. You can find it down below. As well as in saying this, I've got a merch site which I'm hoping to design up another couple of merch designs, and I have got a bit of an update briefly, if you haven't seen it on Instagram, about what's happening with this podcast that I'm hoping to do, hopefully before the end of the year, as one of another project on the side, as well as my merch and everything else, which you can find in the Instagram story if you haven't seen it already, which I was hoping to post it on Twitter as well. So if you want to see that, I'll link that also in the description box below. So in all for the day, guys, thanks for the support, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.